Kimbra and I were going to talk about today is it's everywhere. It's in the news all over the place. So you can't help but hear about it and read a little bit about it. So the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard scandal of abuse between them.
Mm.
And so, this has been going on for years because Johnny was kicked off of the Pirates of the Caribbean. And Kimbra, do you know that one movie that J.K. Rowling, something, I should
Oh
remember
gosh,
that,
what is?
Beast, something.
I'll look it up. He was
Anyway,
kicked up. He kicked off that too.
He was, they wouldn't, before either it's series or of movies or something.
Mm-hmm.
And J.K. Rowling was not happy that they were removing him from that movie. So his life's really been torn apart. I'm sure he spent a lot of money fighting the accusations. He had some people that were still very supportive and standing by him, but a lot of people weren't, because of course we don't want to support someone who's abusing their partner.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to talk about that. And then recently there's these new audio recordings that came out, and I'm curious, I guess she had been recording him all the time, which that alone, I guess if you're being abused and you want to press charges, it's good to get it on tape.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the other hand, if you're trying to frame someone and get them to say things that you can use to incriminate them, that's another reason to record things.
I think the movie that he was kicked off was called Fantastic Beasts.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it. Something Beast. I knew it was Beast, so thanks for looking that up. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think? Have you heard any of the recordings?
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
I haven't heard the recordings, but it's kind of conflicting because I really like Johnny Depp, and I was sure hoping that he. And I'm not saying that I do still think he's an abuser, but I'm hoping he's not. But I'm sure it was a very volatile, passionate relationship. But he lost that case, that the libel case. He had a case in England, and he lost. And they were saying that if you want to sue for libel, England is like the best place to go because they're usually more towards the plaintiff. It's supposed to be a little easier than America. So I felt that's not a good thing that he lost that. And then he was denied when you want to retry, what is that called again? I forget the word. But when you lose your case and you're going to get a chance to try again. Appeal. That's the word.
Yeah. Well, it was against the son.
Right.
And they had called him a wife beater and had insinuated that.
Right.
And they claim that there's all kinds of evidence. But now that there's other evidence, my take on it is that, yeah, like you said, it's a volatile relationship. And I think it was a two-way street. I don't think he held her down and beat her. And I don't think it sounds like she did her own share of, I listened to a lot of the recordings.
And what did you think?
It was conversations between them.
Mm-hmm.
And she would say things. And I think she was the one recording, and he didn't know he was being recorded. And he would say, Amber, why are you lying? Like, it was, he thought it's just a conversation between them.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept saying, why are you lying? Why are you lying? And so for him to not know that it's being recorded and just, trying to get at the truth, he was, seemed very level-headed. And he's like, he admitted that he'd pushed her and, I can't remember exactly other things, but he wasn't claiming to not have been part of it. But she would yell at it. Then she was the one that was always getting mad and yelling and swearing. And he'd say, you're being disrespectful. Can you calm down? And he's like, this is why I always leave. And she kept saying she gets mad and she feels abandoned when he leaves, and they can't work things out because he keeps leaving. And he's like, well, I'm leaving because, you're throwing pots and pans at me and stuff. And she didn't deny any of that.
Right. And to play the devil's advocate, I had a relationship once where the person, people that know me think I'm a pretty calm person, and they never see me get too upset, But I have been in a relationship where this one person kept pushing my buttons and pushing, verbally saying things where it drives you to the point of being in a rage, So I think in that situation with them, they were probably both pushing each other's buttons, and from the, like I said, a lot of passion and a lot of, which leads, and then when you got drugs and alcohol leading into the mix, but then the fact that she donated the money makes me think that, that she probably felt in some way that she was being abused, or, I mean, I don't know if she won a lot of money, I guess, from the libel suit from Johnny Depp from when they were in England, from the, no, I'm sorry, I'm not saying that right. She won a lot of money from him in their divorce proceedings, I guess, like $7 or $8 million.
She got $7 million.
Right.
And the deal was she was to donate it to, I believe, the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And she didn't.
Oh, she didn't? Oh, I didn't know that.
That's the problem. So now he's suing her because she misled the courts to believe. That's why they gave that judgment. So supposedly it's, there's so much still more that needs to be revealed. And let's say this is all allegedly. We are not claiming to be experts on any of this. This is stuff we've read on the internet and tried to, form our own opinions, our amateur opinions. But supposedly now they're saying Elon Musk gave her $7 million.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Those payments, but the that's why Johnny Depp's team has what they do. They sent a subpoena. They're trying to get the ACLU and the Children's Hospital records of her donations, and supposedly she's only donated a couple $100,000.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Well, her claim is that now the Johnny's suing her, that she can't. She needs that money from the divorce settlement, from the court and all that. But it's my opinion, and having been, I've been with, in a relationship too, where they just push my buttons, and it's kind of abusive. It's mentally abusive
and verbal.
So I feel like a little bit here. I like Johnny Depp very much. I love his movies. I think he's very talented. But, in examining it, I'm thinking, okay, he was with that Vanessa Paradis, who had his children, and he never married her. He was with her for 25 years, and he never married her. As far as I know, I mean, that's what they say. So I'm assuming he never married her. And then this Amber Heard comes along. She's 33 years younger. He falls madly in love with her. He's calling her, in these recordings, he's calling her the love of his life. And I don't know if he's just trying to butter her up or if that's how he really feels. I kind of think that's how he really feels. He's an older guy. He falls for this young.
Well, but the thing about Johnny Depp is he says that about every woman that he falls in love with, like when he was with Winona Ryder.
That could be. But that's what I mean. Like he, at this point of his life, feels like she's the love of his life. You always feel that way.
Right.
The other ones are in the past. So every new love is the love of your life.
Right.
But I feel a little bit like he could be difficult. He does have a problem with drugs and alcohol that he's admitted. I think he's a good guy. I don't think he means to hurt anyone. And I don't think he ever meant to hurt her. I think he fell hard for her. And I think she is maybe a little on the spoiled side and didn't always get her way. And then, he's probably a little spoiled too. When you're dealing with wealthy, privileged people and famous to boot, they tend to be spoiled. And you put two spoiled people together, that's just not going to work out very well.
And supposedly I read that she had some kind of violent arguments with her girlfriend before she was with Johnny Depp. She was with this artist, and they had a kind of a volatile relationship as well. So she may get that way a lot.
It sounds like on these recordings, Johnny would say, you always started it. Like she would hit him. Oh, and the tip of his finger, like she was throwing bottles at him and the glass broke and cut off one of the tips of his finger. And it was a really big deal. Like he had to have 3 surgeries to get it reattached, to get the tip put back on. And, there were hours and hours of recordings with the security guards and them, talking about it. And I just think it's 2 people who both beat up on each other. And they should have just walked away though. And that's what Johnny wanted to do. He said, let's settle this out of court. Let's just walk away and let's just keep this private. and I'm sure he would have given her money and let her walk away, but she kept saying, no, my reputation now, people don't believe me. And so she kept wanting to push it, and now her reputation's just trash.
And what about his reputation? I feel bad for him because he lost those 2 movies, and he lost that libel suit against his son. You know, he lost a lot of money. He had to pay for their lawyers' fees too.
Yeah, but now he's been rehired. The Disney bringing him back to Pirates of the Caribbean, and then the Fantastic Beasts. I guess he's been rehired on that.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons it's all been in the news. But all of this coming out, and there's probably still more. But I think the more you dig, I don't think it's going to matter. I just think it's 2 people that shouldn't have been together. That
right.
Really mix well.
That's a good point. Yeah, sometimes when there's all that passion, the downside of it is that when there's fighting, there's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've both been there. I was thinking about this too. And I was thinking, of guys that I've dated, and I've always been attracted to men who are successful. But those relationships never went very well. And you and I have talked about this in relationships because, usually very successful, powerful men are used to having things their own way. And I won't speak for you, but I know for me, I'm not going to be somebody's arm candy. I'm not going to, I want my own life too. And I want to be treated equally with respect. I'm not going to just be somebody's support. I want my life, and I want them to support what I want to do too. So I feel like a lot of those relationships, I wasn't willing just to be the woman that stays at home and is taken care of. I always wanted to do my own thing too.
Right. Yeah, we both have a lot of ambitions and dreams ourselves, So it is hard when you are with a very successful person, because a lot of times they are type A type personalities, or they have such a busy agenda schedule that things get in the way of your lives, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, there's just so many different areas of conflict. It's hard when you have 2 successful people working, or ambitious people working to be successful, and so I do think that plays into some of these celebrity relationships that fall apart. They have the love, but
sure,
their lives just, it's not conducive to a happy relationship, because they have to share.
Right.
Share the spotlight. But I will say, one guy that I dated who is very successful, he was a good guy. We didn't have any issues. We had other issues. But his name was Bob Prokop, and he's partners with Angelina Jolie in a jewelry line, and he was the Queen's Royal Jeweler at one time, from what I've read, because I've read. And he was a really good guy. I mean, there was no power struggle. He was so supportive. He was he's the only one I can think of that I dated that was hugely successful, that was always very supportive of me, and there was not any kind of struggle.
I think sometimes when a guy is super confident too, and they've gotten to a certain, if you're really confident, a lot of times you're very you're more supportive of the person that you're with, because you're not competing, and that you've already gotten there, and it's not going to take away from your shine if you let that other person. But that's a rare person that's like that. I mean,
I never felt like I had anybody competing with me. I never felt like it was a competition at all. I just felt like it was competing for each other's time more. But I never felt like I was with somebody that didn't want me to be successful. I felt like they wanted my time,
right?
And they weren't as understanding, or I wanted their time and they were too busy or doing this or that.
Right.
So, but I do feel like with Bob, that he was the only one. He just had a good heart. He's just a really genuine good guy.
Sounds like a good guy. Yeah.
The sad part is he wouldn't talk to me anymore. I mean, we had dated and off and on, and then he dated this girl, and I invited me to his birthday party. And I've said this before, hey, if I'm not with someone and they're with someone else, I'm happy for them, I'm okay with it. And then I brought a guy to his Christmas Eve party, and he wouldn't talk to me after that. He has never talked to me or answered my calls after that. And it makes me sad because I had always thought we'd stay friends because he's such a good guy.
Right.
And so in that way, I feel like that was the only blemish that he had. But otherwise, he was a super
But sometimes
great guy.
with performers, though, it's a little bit different of chemistry and agenda, you know, because performers a lot of times have more sensitive egos, and so there's a little bit different dynamics when you've got two performers. Sometimes it's just a little bit different chemistry, you know. I'm just thinking about people that I was with that maybe were in the music business, and you know, it's in that sense you're sort of competing with each other. I never felt like I was competing with anybody, but sometimes the other person did, you know, in my situation.
That could be. Yeah, that could be. I don't know. Who knows what the dynamic was with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? I mean, who really knows what they really, what did they fight about? It never even came clear what they were fighting
That's
about.
true. Good point.
He was late for her birthday party, which I guess that would be disappointing. But supposedly he had a business meeting, and it sounded like all trivial things. But
you got a good
really
point.
Don't know.
You got a good point there, though. It's like when someone like that couple like them who has everything, you know, beautiful, wealthy, the pinnacles of their careers, you know, what do you really have to fight about?
Right. Money's not an issue, but,
Right.
but it is, you know, there's the personality, you know,
Right.
are you getting
Sure.
emotionally what you need from that person? Because that's really all that's left. You're not going
Mhm.
to fight about other things, but emotion, it sounded like there was she had some issues with abandonment,
Mhm.
in my amateur psychology opinion. And he, you know, I think he was kind of like, you know, he
was used to getting what he wanted.
well, and just, I think he's just used to doing what he wanted.
Mhm.
And real laid back about things, and she was real high strung and had expectations, and you know, I think he kind of just went with the flow and did whatever he wanted to do. And when you're in a partnership, you know, you have to answer to the other person too.
And again, when you have drugs and alcohol, and I don't know if he's ever said that he has a problem with drugs or alcohol, but I think
Yes,
that
he
he
did.
has.
Yeah, both of them have admitted to having problems, issues with
they did.
alcohol. Yeah. And then her assistant has come out recently and said she was abusive to her.
Really?
You know, she seems like she's pretty high strung and verbally abusive. And
if nothing else, she's a little high maintenance.
Yeah. Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, I was reading that Johnny Depp's assistant, I think it was saying the same thing too when they were on a flight. He was saying how he witnessed her hitting him lightly or whatever, and then he would retreat to the bathroom, and that's where he would stay the whole time when the flights, it would happen a lot, I guess, and he would just stay in the bathroom for some reason.
I can't imagine. I've had bad arguments with guys, but never hitting, nothing, you know, physical like that I can think of. Yeah, right. I would leave. I mean, one time and that would be it.
Right. I agree. But so the other couple that I wanted to talk about who actually know Johnny Depp, I didn't realize that Marilyn Manson, whose real name is Brian Hugh Warner. That's his real name. Yeah. Brian Hugh Warner. Yeah. And he's had a lot of trouble too. I mean, and I have a tendency to, you know, I was reading about him, and I feel like a lot of the stuff, because he's done it for like at least three women, right, have accused him of doing volatile, abusive things.
Well, from what I read, there's like 16. I pulled up an article. Let's see where it is. Yeah, there's like 16 different women that are accusing him of different things.
16?
But supposedly, so Evan Rachel Wood, who was very young when they started dating, she's accusing him of being physically abusive, sexually abusive. And then there's like 15 other ones. But then Dita Von Teese, who you mentioned, and who was the other one? The one he was married to. He was married to Dita Von Teese, and who else? He dated someone else famous who said she never had an issue with him.
Oh, really?
Oh, Rose McGowan.
Yeah, Rose McGowan. That's right.
Yeah, and she's pretty outspoken about the Me Too stuff. She's very outspoken about Me Too.
Well, that's true. That's true.
The Harvey Weinstein. So she said that was not her experience with him.
But
what do you think about that?
Well, I know that with Evan Rachel Wood, she was really young, and I don't know how old Rose McGowan was when they got together, but it sounds to me like Evan Rachel Wood was super fragile, you know, and she just talks about how he just kind of like allegedly kept her like locked up, and you know, what is that word when you kind of brainwash somebody, you know, that's how she felt.
Manipulating her,
yeah. And she actually testified. I saw online where this about the Phoenix, she helped with the Phoenix Act, which extends the amount of time that you can, if you have an abusive alleged abusive person that's you know, being abusive towards you, you have more time now. Before, I think it was like you had to do it within a year, and now it's like 4 to 5 years. Is that 4 to 5? No, now you have 3 to 5 years.
So the statute of limitations has been extended.
Exactly. I don't know if it's the maximum is 5 years, but it said 3 to 5 years, so I'm assuming that's what they mean. Yeah. Before, I think you only had 1 year to say that you had this accuser, you know, to take it to court or whatever, to get them, whatever the word is. I'm not being very lawyerly today.
Well, you're not a lawyer, so that's okay. I was reading some of the things that Marilyn Manson, he like one girl, he locked her in a room, and then he was having whatever sex, I guess, with another girl. And that girl that was locked in the room had to listen, and then he wouldn't feed, like he would starve her, he wouldn't feed them, he would make them do drugs, and this is all allegedly. We don't know. It has to be proven in a court of law, and it's just things we've read on the internet. And you know, I don't want to spread gossip, but I think when it gets this far that it's being talked about, I think at least what it does is bring it up in conversation so that we can talk about, you know, maybe younger girls or women are watching this podcast and afraid to get away or don't know how to, and don't have the strength. You know, it helps sometimes knowing that there's other women out there that are in this situation, and there's always some place to go, you know, go to a shelter, call a friend, but get away from a situation. Don't allow that in your life. Don't put yourself in that position. Even though it might seem impossible. These are women that are, you know, some of them are famous. I mean, some of them have their own money. It's like a lot of times the abusive situation is because money. The woman doesn't leave. They might have kids.
That's true. Yeah.
Money or anywhere to go. But this is, you know, these are women who have resources. So you can imagine the mind manipulation that these guys are, you know, doing, that he's doing to control them, you know. So and that can happen. I mean, you know, people get in cults, and you have someone telling you every day, and you're already a little fragile, your self-esteem is, you know, not so strong, and somebody telling you every day that you can't do better or you're no good. And
yeah, I know, you know, things are changing. It's like, I'm sure there's some women that maybe, I don't want to say some women have maybe falsely accused people. Maybe I'm sure there's some, but I believe the majority of women, because for so long, you know, we're women, we know it's like for so long men have been getting away with all this stuff. And it's just, it's good that it's coming out in the open. The sad part is that now everybody's afraid they don't know how to act a lot of times. I'm just talking about like, you know, saying things, and, you know, people are getting a little confused about how to treat each other. Right.
Yeah, that's the tough part. It's gone, you know, that's what happens. It goes so far in the other direction. We do this with everything. We let things get so bad. Then when we finally put our foot down and say, okay, we're going to fight back, then we take it too far the other direction.
Right. Then every little thing is like, oh, he said something, you know, offensive to me. And like, come on, are you that thin-skinned?
Yeah, we have to have common sense. We have to bring common sense into it. And especially, you know, I guess if we provide more help to women that are in an abusive situation, there'd be less of an excuse to stay. And not that it's an excuse to stay, but if we provide resources so they can leave, then maybe they won't stay. And
That's
it
a good
won't
point.
get so dangerous because, you know, there are women that end up getting killed by their partner when they try to leave,
That's
trying to
true.
leave. So
That's
if we
true.
can re-educate men too, and you know, the male ego, kind of tamp it down a little bit, because like you said, for so long, for forever, you know, the man's always been in control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and so it's a whole, like I was watching this Fran Lebowitz. Do you know who she is? The writer. She's on this Martin Scorsese documentary that on Netflix, and she made a good point. She's like, you know, even girls that are 19 have seen a change, because when they were 9, things were different from, you know, even just 10 years ago. It's also new about how men are treating women, and how they're supposed to treat women, and for so long they did so many things that you weren't even allowed, you know, you were afraid to say because you're afraid people wouldn't believe you, right? Or and you just thought that's the way it was,
or you
you know?
just, yeah, you just accept it.
Right.
Yeah.
That happened to me growing up, you know, just things I was, you know, I'm like, well, I'm not going to say anything because that's just the way it is. That's the way men are, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's what we always said for so long. Boys will be boys, or that's
Right.
the way men are. And you know, um, when I was young and I had a relationship, I am thinking back to this. I was very young, you know, in my early 20s, and had a relationship with someone that, um, you know, I think strong, powerful men are attracted to strong, powerful women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then they get mad when you don't put up with, you know, their
Mm,
faults, their
sure.
weakness. And so that, I think, does create the volatility in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, because as women are starting to stand up to men, the men are like, wait, what? You can't do this. And their ego, you know, their ego gets involved and they don't
Mm-hmm.
like it. So I think that causes some physical, that's when men get violent. They get physical because they don't know what else to do. They can't control you emotionally.
That's
So they
true.
try to overpower you physically. And I think that's a common thing. Because yeah, I'm thinking back when I was young, and this guy, you know, he was a little older than I, quite a bit, but couldn't. I think his attraction to me was that I was so strong-willed and
Mm-hmm.
strong, and you know, I respected myself. I'm like, you're not treating me like that. And I think that is the attraction. I know there was another guy. He was oh, he was I forget what he was, but he was a big music producer in Hollywood, and he wanted to take me out. And so he had a secretary call me and ask me, you know, for a lunch date. And I was like, you tell him that if he wants to take me to lunch, if this isn't business, then he needs to call me himself and ask me. And so he did. Like 5 minutes later, I get a call. And then when we were done talking, he just hung up. And I called back and I got the secretary, and I'm like, let me talk to him. And she put him on the phone. And I'm like, don't ever hang up on me again like that. You always have to say goodbye. And it made him like me more, because nobody ever stood up to him, because he was so
Right.
powerful. And I'm like, we've talked about this too. I don't give anyone a pass. I don't care who you are. I don't care how rich or powerful or what you have. You are going to treat me with respect if you're going to live in my world.
You schooled him.
I did. And he was like, he always said, you're the one that got away. You're the one I went. And I know it's because everybody else just, you know, thought he walked on water. And I'm like, if
Right.
you're going to be my friend, you're going to have to treat me like an equal.
Right. Right.
So I think as more and more women become stronger, then, you know, the playing field will become more level.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's definitely changing. I think, like, gosh, even in 10 years, we're going to look back and go, whoa, you know?
Yeah,
Because,
hopefully.
yeah, I hope so. You know, it's a
Yeah.
long time coming, as they say, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, now we're talking about this, and men, you know, overpowering women and stuff. So there's another story.
Mm.
Shia LaBeouf has
Mm.
been in the news also,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a relationship with something Twigs,
Twigs was her name?
FJKA, like three letters, and
Mm-hmm.
Twigs is her last
Mm-hmm.
name. And she is accusing him, allegedly,
Mm-hmm.
of also physical violence, choking her, threatening to kill her
Oh my gosh.
if she left him. You know, it sounds like he's very insecure. They met on that show, Honey Boy, that movie Honey Boy.
Right. I think he produced and directed and
Yeah,
wrote
it
it or
was about
something.
his story.
Yeah, Honey Boy, yeah.
Growing up as a kid and the abuse he had endured. And then of course drugs and alcohol are also involved, and she's been coming out and wants him to get help because she doesn't want anything from him. She just wants him to get help, and she wants him to donate a bunch of money to a hotline, like an abuse hotline for women, because she said that's how she got away. They helped her.
Right. Oh, good. That's a good organization, sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is common. Money doesn't cure mental pain.
That's true.
It really doesn't, and sometimes it can magnify it because it empowers you to give you, make you feel more like people have to do what you want. So I hope he heals and finds his way. And I guess he's been fired from movies too recently, or whatever the things he was supposed to be doing. So good for Hollywood for not sweeping it under the rug like they would have a decade or two ago and allowing
that's true. That's a
to
good
go
point.
on.
But at the same time, I always feel kind of, I have mixed feelings about it. Like even with this Armie Hammer thing, remember we were briefly talking about that. Excuse me. He's, already suffering some consequences of, he had to get out of this Jennifer Lopez movie, but he hasn't actually, I don't think anything's gone to court or anything like that. This is all alleged at this point, right? Yeah. But it is a little bizarre to say the least, right?
Yeah, that's a weird one, but I don't know. Like I've throughout my life always thought that people are like me, and I think I'm pretty normal and mainstream. But as you find more and more things about other people, I guess different people are very different, and what they like and what they're attracted to, and what I don't know. I mean, that's just all those things. I can't even remember. Like he was talking about cannibalism, right? He told one girl he wanted to take her rib out and eat
barbecue it or something like that. But these are all just like text messages, right? I mean, it's not like he's actually been accused of doing anything.
He supposedly hasn't done anything or hurt anyone physically. I guess emotionally, these women have been traumatized.
But at the same time, I mean, they were in relationships with him. Yeah. I don't know. That one's a little different. It's like, if that's how he gets his rocks off, and I'm sure they saw, why did you stay in that relationship? But the one girl was saying that he's very, very manipulative, but, manipulative in the sense of he's this good looking guy, he's a movie star, of course you're going to be like, oh, but then, when you start seeing those little red flags, you got to get out of there,
Right. Well, I think, what we need to do is double-edged. Obviously, we need to hold the men accountable, but we also need to build women up so they're strong enough to leave a situation like that. Like, I can't imagine somebody sending me a text like that and me thinking, oh yeah, I like this guy. No.
He wants to eat my rib. Well, I will be skinnier. No, I'm kidding.
I'll eat some of my fat. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's double-edged, though. I do think we need to build women up more. So they're strong enough to leave and not fall prey to those kinds of things. The abuse and like the first time a guy hits you, bye.
Right. Good point.
Walk out, get your stuff and leave. And I don't care who he is or what he has. And, if we get sucked into the material things that a guy's offering us, then that's a weakness. That's a weakness
true too.
On our part.
I had, my mom had a friend who was married to a very wealthy man, and she never, I had heard that he had been abusive, and she never left him because she was always like, what am I going to do? After like 4 kids and, she was used to a certain lifestyle. Personally, I would have hightailed it out of there, but
live in a car. Let's get the kids and live in a car.
But a lot of people, I guess they feel, especially if the woman gets a little older and they don't feel like they can support themselves. And, that's sad too. That's why you were saying earlier about the retraining or helping women get into
have resources for them.
Right. So
help them get on their feet. And there are limited places, that help them a little bit, but like really help them in a way that money isn't the issue.
Right.
That's not the issue. And if they need mental health help, deprogramming their brain or whatever,
Mhm,
get them
mhm,
that help. I mean,
mhm.
we need to empower women, and we need to rein in the male ego,
Mm,
for the men that are, have that kind of ego that
right.
that they feel like they have to overpower or control the woman. And I don't want to say every guy that I dated. Now I'm starting to think, I'm like, well, I've dated quite a few very well powerful men that weren't jerks.
Right.
um but Bob was the one that I thought of that was just like so unaffected by his wealth and um whatever power or whatever you want to
Well,
call it.
you have a good point about that, because the most successful man that I ever dated, who was very successful, and he had his, he was in charge of this big company, and he was the most successful man I ever dated. And he was the most confident, and he would always say, "I'm so proud of you. I had a little condo at the time, and he was like, I'm so proud of you. You have this and this and this, and I always thought, oh, how funny, he's proud of me. I thought that was a little odd, but I think that's cool that he wanted me to know that, he was embracing, trying to lift me up. Right.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah, so I guess it's not always about power. It's
right,
it's what you do with it and when you
right,
get it. But
right.
I
That's
do
true.
think that plays in sometimes. I think it plays in quite often
Yeah. And
when there's abuse.
it's just yeah, no, that's a good point. And the sad part about all this, tying the stories back together, is that Johnny Depp is very good friends with Marilyn Manson. I was telling you that. I was like, oh, that's not good for Johnny Depp. I mean,
Well,
because
just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean that you both beat your wives or
no, I know, but they're very good friends. Like, so I was reading a story that he actually gave Marilyn Manson a house. It was kind of nice to him. Like, Marilyn Manson was at his house, and he was like, "This is a really cool house," and Johnny Depp was like, "You like it? It's yours." I guess he didn't like it anymore. And I was like, "Wow, that's a nice friend."
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he seems like a pretty gentle
Yeah,
soul. I feel like,
generous too.
yeah. And then Winona Ryder and his whatever wife woman that he was with for
Common law wife, I guess you call it.
both came out and defended him and said that
Mm-hmm.
they'd never seen that kind of behavior from him, violent. He
Mm-hmm.
gets
Mm-hmm.
mad probably and yells like everyone, but they never saw any kind of violence. So um, I hope they
Yeah.
work it out. I hope they find peace and happiness. And I hope we all learn from this. I personally feel like Amber Heard should have walked away because I feel like she contributed to it.
Mm.
She should have just walked away and wished him well.
That's
But she,
true. Good point. Maybe in the very beginning, like when they first started clashing, and I know it's hard because he's Johnny Depp, because he's so talented and charismatic, but still, yeah, those fights that they got into were so bad that, she should have just, that's a tough one, but you're right, that she should have walked away.
yeah, it doesn't matter who he is. Who cares?
I know, but gosh,
That shouldn't play into it at all. You should have self-respect and
right,
enough not to let Johnny Depp beat you
right.
if he
Oh
really
yeah,
is.
if he really did. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, if he really did. Yeah, I thought you meant like just from the fights, she should have walked away. I was just thinking.
Well, even if there's like bad fights, he's obviously not making her happy.
Right.
He's
That's
obviously
true.
not right for her.
Right. That's true.
So, and you should know that pretty early on if you're having bad fights like that, we're not doing too well here. So we probably don't belong together.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point, because I was in a relationship like that once, but I noticed right away, like, we got it. But the guy was the one that didn't want to end it, So
I know who that is.
yeah.
I think, yeah. But yeah, and persuasive and charming and, all those wonderful things. And in fact, I was cheering for you guys. I really wanted you guys to be a couple because I thought you were a good pair. But yeah, but you knew what you wanted, and that's not what you wanted. You wanted
Right.
happy. So
I want to be happy. Is that so wrong?
yeah, I want to be happy. I don't want to be tortured all the time.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so those are, I hope Johnny Depp actually, I hope he, well, it's good that he got hired for those movies back. He got rehired for those movies. I'm glad to see that. I hate to see someone's career get plummeted when you don't know for sure what the true scenario is,
Yeah, and they should have waited until everything came out in court. But I think because he lost that libel suit against the Sun in the UK, they thought, well, then he must be guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was really just about them calling him a wife beater. That wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really about the actual incident.
Right.
But more and more is coming out. And I'm just the thing that I'm so curious about is I think it was her that was recording. I can't find who did all the recording.
I
And
read that
it's got to be
too.
one of them.
I read that too. That's kind of confusing though, that she recorded it. Maybe she was hoping to catch him in something. I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
that happened
it's just
before. That happened before with that whole. Remember that whole Mel Gibson thing from the past? Like she recorded his phone calls. That's another abusive relationship where
right,
he got.
right.
I don't know about physically, but I know he was alleged very verbally abusive towards her,
Yeah,
and she
yeah,
recorded the conversations.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to submit things when you record people?
It depends on the state, but in California, I believe, I think, and here in Wyoming too, as long as one person is aware that they're being recorded,
Right.
then
And that's
the
the person that's recording it.
other person, yeah. So like I could record our conversation and not tell you, and it would be
Right.
okay.
Right.
So
Right.
Kimbra, be careful when we
I
talk.
know. Be careful. That's why I never say sensitive information over the
Yeah,
phone.
don't reveal too much. But yeah, but I guess like let's say there's a third party
Right.
can't record our conversation together.
I see.
Somebody
I
else
see.
without
Okay.
us knowing if we don't know it. So
Got it. Got it.
so I think it's probably legal and admissible in court.
It must be because they're doing it.
It's just and like I mean I guess if you're being abused, you would record it. You want
Sure.
evidence. But a lot of it shows that she's been part of the abuse. Like she's
Right. Right.
some of it too. So I don't know what she thought she was getting out of it. But
Well, that's interesting that you pointed out though that she didn't donate that money. I thought she donated that money, that $7 million. You know.
yeah, she was supposed to, but now that's recent it came to light, and he's asking for the records to be subpoenaed to see what she has, and supposedly she hasn't donated it yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, now she's gonna have to.
Yeah. And there's recordings with her mother and her father, and they're calling Johnny Depp, and they're not supposed to be in touch with him, and
Really?
telling him, we wish you guys could. This is another kind of suspect thing. They're saying, we wish you guys could work it out. Now, if somebody's beating your daughter up, would you want them to work it out?
Right.
No. I mean, if you really believe that they were beat. So I just think it was a two-way street.
Right. That's a good point.
I think
I agree.
Put it to bed, like get over it, move on,
Right.
walk away from it. But she pushed it. She wanted to take it to court. He wanted to settle it out of court privately.
It's always best to settle out of court in anything because you don't want that dirty laundry out there. It's usually all that money you spent.
Expensive.
Yeah, that you could have done good things with, or paid for somebody to go to college. Who knows? Any little thing. It could have gone for good causes. It's never a good situation unless I don't know. I can't even think.
Well, when one person won't give in,
mm-hmm.
And he. On some of the recordings, he's saying, Amber, you're lying. Why are you doing this? And that's what makes me think that he admitted, like some things that he had done, but he's like, you initiated it. Like you were throwing things at me. And then should be saying, well, you leave me. You keep leaving. He's like, yeah, because I don't want to do this.
Right. Right.
So I think it's a two-way street on that one. Now the Marilyn Manson ones, they're a little darker, and I think he supposedly allegedly he was drugging them and then doing things to them, and pretty sick, like sounds like a pretty demented sick person, which the psychology of that, because I liked his music. I think his music's kind of twisted. Sure. But it's music, it's art, you're like, okay.
He's very respected, and successful as a musician, by a lot of people. So, but if there's more than one, two, even if there's three, you said there's how many? There's like four women? 16. If there's 16 women, I always say there's a little, not saying that you've done all the things they've said, but when there's smoke, there's fire, you got 16 women.
This is in the Huffington Post. Let's give them credit. 16 women. It says at least 15 women, including actor Evan Rachel Wood, but there's 16 names here. So have made accusations against the rocker that include sexual assault and psychological abuse.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's another thing where you wonder, he's mentally ill to be able to be that cruel to people. That's a mental illness.
Sure.
And not one that I think you should get away with it because he's mentally ill. I think it needs to be addressed.
Sure.
He's a danger, but you wonder, did he always have it, or did his twisted character, he made up this character.
Right. Did that perpetuate? Did that help it push it along?
Did he go on the road to mental illness? Did he become mentally ill, believing this is who he is, and get more and more demented as time goes on? So you have to wonder about that too.
Yeah, and sometimes things develop too as one gets older. It could have been a seed in his DNA, and maybe he really, you know what I mean? And then things get worse as you get older. So maybe it's kind of developed. Yeah. That's a point too.
Well, and then he's preying on weaker women. Because maybe Dita Von Teese, he might have had respect for her. Maybe he had more respect for her, and these other ones, because they were a little, I don't want to say weaker, but more fragile.
You mean Rose McGowan? Because isn't that the one that said,
the ones that he abused?
Oh, because you said he had well, no, you said maybe
Von Teese he was married to, and I believe he respected her because he didn't abuse her.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, I thought she accused him too, but I guess not.
No, she came out saying that that's not her experience with him, and same with Rose McGowan. She said she didn't have that experience with him.
That's true. So maybe if he thinks certain kinds of personalities, if he feels like he can manipulate them in some way, and maybe those other women he couldn't,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So again, I think we need to empower women so that they would walk away from something like that and have the strength to walk away and identify it, notice it right off the bat. And then hold men like that accountable, so they think twice, because it's, if you don't have enough self-control to not drug and rape a girl, then you maybe should be locked up.
Right.
To people. So anyway, and then Shia LaBeouf, we hope that he deals with his demons too.
Yeah, I feel bad. I was listening to a thing on NPR about the movie that he made, and they were talking about, I didn't realize his life upbringing was so abusive, and that's why he wanted to make this movie. Poor guy. I feel bad.
Yeah, because a lot of the abuse that comes out as an adult stems from childhood. Abused. I think women fall prey to abusers if they've been abused, and men become abusers. Not always.
Not always, no.
But I do think it starts as the child.
Yeah. And and even darker, they always say, like, people that have been men that have been molested, sometimes they become molesters, so it happens, sadly.
Yeah.
So anyway, on that sad and dark note, let's talk about something happy. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. This is we don't usually get this deep and this dark, but it's all been in the news, and we just wanted to address it because hopefully somebody will hear this and it'll give them the strength to walk away from something. Don't ever settle. There's always another man that will come along. There are good men. There are many good men out there.
Sure.
And so you will find someone else, and there's always a place to go for help.
Yeah.
We'll put some resources down below the video.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's do that.
And stuff. And if you feel like you're in a situation that you can't get out of, and if you can get out of it, just get out of it. Walk away and report it. I mean, I do think you report it because you might be saving. Well, yeah, you might be saving someone else from.
That's true. Like a future thing, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a very good idea to put some resources below our link.
Yeah, we'll put them in the description.
Yeah, below our YouTube video.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, everybody, stay strong, stay healthy, right?
Yes. And Yeah, and if you know someone in a situation like that, that's another thing, a touchy thing.
That's true.
They have to be the one that decides to go away, to leave, but be supportive and understanding, because sometimes it's just really hard to do it. And sometimes the
That's true.
heart's involved, you know, you get attached to that person, you think you love them because for whatever reason it is. You know, we can't even define what love is. Who knows why we're attracted to what we're attracted to and why we think we love some people and don't love others. But you know, have the strength and have the self-respect to want better for yourself.
That's
Right?
true.
And someone abusive. So we wish everyone well. Sorry, this is such a downer today. We'll try to be happier.
You need to talk about it. So, I mean, we need to address it at some point, you know, so yeah. So everybody, Kellie is right. Stay strong. And if you can walk away, but we will try to give some resources as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.